Things can never just not be normal in the GTA 6 community. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another GTA 6 video. My name is Saintsfan, and yeah, today we have a new pretty major leak that goes over quite a bit of stuff from GTA 6. In this leak, we're gonna go over weapons and how they're gonna work in GTA 6. Also, interiors. There's been a number that has been leaked, how many interiors, and it is insane. Also, some stuff on how the characters are going to work in free roam and much more. So if any of that stuff sounds interesting, well, then this is the video for you. So it all started on April 19th. This was a tweet that was put out by this guy called Game Roll. GTA 6 conversation is sort of dried up by now, so here's a fun question. What do you think Jason's and Lucia's last names are? My guesses are Lucia Caminos and Jason Duval. And that was tweeted April 19th, 2025. So like 3-ish weeks before trailer 2. So this guy just randomly said their names, which, you know, ended up being true a couple weeks before. Now I'm showing this because it's pretty clear that this guy didn't just randomly say these names, and he has some sort of source, you know, either at Rockstar or, you know, someone who knows someone at Rockstar, something like that, right? Like, you're not just randomly tweeting out these names, you know, and they end up being right. So there is some validity behind what this guy is saying. Okay. So here is the new leak. This is from yesterday. This is just an imager thread of what I guess he was saying in his Discord, because that's where these leaks come from. I guess people were asking him questions and he was just responding. In the first leak, or the first question, do you know if the limited weapon wheel from the leaks and RDR2 is still in GTA 6? He responded, yes, I said this, they're in the trunk. So I mean, right off the bat, like, if we're just assuming everything he's gonna say is true, and we'll talk more about that, you know, how true a lot of this stuff is at the end of this video, but this trunk part, I think, is 100% accurate. And this is from Rockstar's website. Like, if you go to rockstar.com or rockstargames.com/v, you scroll down to the very end, there is this little scene where Lucia is actually grabbing a gun from the car and then putting it in her pants or whatever, right? I think that's like right there. It's confirmation that we're getting the gun system sort of from RDR2, and instead of your horse carrying your weapons, it's going to be your car. Okay, so with that one, yeah, nothing crazy. Like, you could have predicted that. Most of us thought this was going to be the case anyway. But let's continue with some of the other stuff. The characters will have a switch wheel with 2 of them at once. So you switch to both. So like in GTA 5, you had Michael Trevor Franklin. But in this game, you're going to have Lucia, Jason, and then Lucia and Jason. So you're going to have 3 different options. And I guess he actually says that right here. So here's the 3 different options. Now, what this one, the one at the bottom, how that's going to work, we have no idea. Presumably, it's just going to be maybe you control one and the other just follows, and then maybe you can switch between the 2. As we continue some more stuff, there's no burglaries, he says. So I guess presumably that's house burglaries. Like, you can't go into people's houses and rob them. He says, but there's a lot of stores, like a lot. And I guess the stores are robbable. His source also said there's elevators inside of certain skyscrapers, which I think makes sense. That's how else would you get to the top? He then continues, all right, actual leak, like, I'm being serious. There are male strippers. So equality has finally reached GTA 6. We have male strippers. Now, some very interesting stuff, if you've been following along the GTA 6 world over the last couple of years, the 2022 leaks, apparently some stuff from that wasn't exactly accurate. He says the gameplay in that leak isn't spot on. Dual wielding, which is something that was in those original leaks, apparently was never planned, according to my name's sources. I was told for the map, there's not a panhandle. So the map project that's been going on, they added a panhandle. Maybe that won't actually be there. He says I will also drop a legit spoiler. The warehouse robots is cut. So this is referring to, from those leaks in 2022, there was an event list leaked that had like 1,300 events, and this was one of them. Well, apparently they were cut, and it was cut in like 2023. which by the way was when I think a lot of internal delays were happening. Also in the leaks, there was somewhat of a cover system and even a prone system. I guess all of that was cut as well. This is maybe the most disappointing news, if true. Yeah, the dynamic cover system, like The Last of Us 2 and what we briefly see in the leaks, was horrible, apparently. So it's good they cut it and returned it back to a button. Apparently it's better now. The story, this isn't a big, spoiler, but allegedly it has 5 chapters, which I think is sort of on par with RDR2. He says he's not dropping any story spoilers, which is good. I think hopefully if there's any ethical leakers out there, give us some small stuff like what we've seen so far. Nothing crazy. Like, we don't want to know if Jason or Lucia dies, right? Like, that's just not going to be a fun leak to look at. But then we get to the end of this. There's apparently hundreds of stores and malls that are enterable. That's the one that's crazy. He says 700 plus. Now, he does clarify on this in a moment. So if you're seeing this number and you're originally thinking like me, like, oh my God, 700 stores that are all robbable and enterable, like, that's insane. Does GTA 5 even have 700 total buildings? I don't even know. But this number, it's a crazy number. I do want to actually hop back on that when I re-clarify, so don't get too excited just yet. It's pretty exciting still, but it's not as crazy as this maybe sounds. And then the final thing he says is malls are functional. So I don't know exactly what that means, but I'm assuming maybe you just go in, you can do stuff in them. All right, so then that brings us to when all of this stuff started to blow up. He had a response on Reddit here. He says, firstly, everything I've said in Discord comes from the same source as the person who gave him the last name. So this is coming from that same person. So again, there is some truth to this because again, the names were right. So presumably some of this stuff we just took a look at is also going to be right. He says it's important to note that it is not a direct source to Rockstar. So that's again, what makes this a little like 50-50. I know a guy who knows a guy. It sounds fake, right? But the last name thing is really what makes me believe some of this stuff is true. And I'm not going to believe all of this stuff is true. I don't think any of us should. Obviously a couple of these things, take it with a grain of salt. There's some stuff that is believable here. And unfortunately, he has no proof of anything. Like, he's not going to share any proof. So we'll just have to take his word for this. And unfortunately, I don't know where I saw the clarification on this 700 number. Maybe it was deleted or something. But basically what I read was this 700 number does include really small stuff that you can interact with, like gumball machines, for instance. In the 2022 leaks, there was a gumball machine you could go up to, interact with. There was like a little button, so like you press square and you get a gumball or something. So presumably this 700 number, that's what that means. So there's probably not going to be 700 stores. I think that's just insane. There's still going to be like, probably a couple hundred, right? There's still going to be a lot. It's just, there's also other stuff included in that number. So it's not as crazy as it sounds, but it's still, look, it's still way more than we got in GTA 5. So that's pretty exciting to me. Now, of course, this blew up. People were dissecting all of this, and the same guy, this game roll guy, did post this on the GTA forums. Personally, I trust the things he told me when people were questioning this leak, such as, and he gives some new examples, 6 stars returning. The map is a rectangle and, not a panhandle. Waypoints are pink and some other minor things because they're fairly insignificant. And then obviously the names that turned out to be true. He says, I trust my source, but maybe only like 70% given that they're not a direct source. And then since trailer 2, some of the claims that have been put out have been a bit more outlandish, like going from the names to then big stuff like 700, stores. It is a big leap. It is a big leap. So yeah, again, take it with a grain of salt. Maybe some of this stuff is true. Maybe some of its stuff isn't true. There's actually quite a bit more with this leak, and I just quickly want to go through it. I don't have pictures because it was all from the Discord, and I think a lot of it did get deleted. Here is just a post that someone made on the GTA forums covering pretty much everything from this leak. The first one, the random encounter from the leaks where the NPC talks about Jay Norris, apparently got cut ages ago. At the moment, there's not a lot to explore underwater, which is a little disappointing hearing that, other than treasure. But there are some secrets and stuff, obviously, that can get added before launch, so maybe we shouldn't worry about that too much. There's a mission where you shoot a shark with a spear gun. Sounds interesting, but it does sound like something like, you know, I think we thought this was going to be a possibility regardless. Now here we have one actually about that little airplane scene from trailer 2. It's from a heist apparently, and Lucia sneaks into a bodybuilding gang. And I guess that does check out because the person in that Lucia's fighting in that clip does look pretty jacked. Going back to the shopping malls, there's going to be shopping malls with shops in them, skyscrapers with lifts in them. But right now the lifts only take you to the roof and not the individual floors. And of course, again, these 700 shops in game and the most interiors in any open world game you've ever played. There's a mission where cops betray each other, but they don't know the context of it since they didn't play the mission leading up to it. Chapter 4 and 5 in the story still aren't finished, and they cut a huge chunk out of chapter 5, so that is what's getting reworked now. Maybe this is why the delay happened, one of the reasons why the delay happened. There's a guy called Donnie who's Jason's friend, and my friend described him as a freak. He works with Brian and Jason. Okay. The shot in the trailer where Jason walks out of the shop with the beer is gameplay and not a cutscene. You can literally go buy a 6-pack from the shop. We sort of figured that out from looking at the trailer some more, but it's interesting to see that in a leak. You briefly see Lucia's kid at the beginning of the game, which is interesting, but my friend only played chapters 1 to 3. They never saw the kid again, so maybe a case of my friend not playing enough of the story, or the kid just isn't in the game that much. But, you know, an interesting one there. Lucy apparently is a kid. There were some original leaks about that, so it's not too hard to believe. There are some spicy scenes apparently in this game, but no nudity. So I know some of you guys are going to be disappointed about that, but an interesting point. Most of the stuff in the trailer was from the early acts of the game, and I did say that a couple of days ago in one of my videos. So it's pretty interesting to hear that from this leaker that maybe knows some more. The social media feature is still absolutely bare bones right now, but they should be working on that. And I think that's why we didn't see a lot of that in trailer 2. So good to hear they're working on it. They changed the weapon wheel for the 3rd time the other day. I wonder what that's all about. When you switch characters, again, we already talked about that. You're just going to have the different options. Like in RDR2, the Greet and Intimidate system is going to be in the game. You cannot use AirPods to listen to music when you're not in the car, but that could be getting changed before launch. So I know a lot of us seem to want this to happen, but we'll see if it actually does. Ambrosia and Port Gellhorn are nothing compared to the size of Vice City. Still obviously big, but Vice City is the biggest by far. And I think we've seen that just from the screenshots. This one really, I think is very disappointing for me. Prone is cut and dual wielding was apparently never in the game. I don't know why, but I really would love Prone in a GTA game. Maybe it's because we've just never had it, but I'm kind of upset a bit by the fact that Prone is being cut. You cannot buy pets, but Jason does have a pet iguana that you can feed, which is interesting. Right now, the ankle monitor doesn't affect gameplay, and Lucia gets rid of it pretty early on. So that's actually an interesting one. It doesn't affect gameplay. So I guess you're not going to be locked in to portions of the map, which I actually do prefer. The map is still a rectangle, and the mission waypoints are pink. Jason's ability is like Deadeye, slow-mo, and you see weak points when you shoot. Lucia is a worse version of that. She goes into slow-mo but can only shoot once. They said they hope it gets changed because their abilities are pretty bad at the moment. Here's another interesting one. There is no Disney World parody, which is interesting given that there was that one shot in the trailer that did look like a Disney World-esque scene. As far as we know, or as far as he knows, there's no secret map like Warma, but they haven't played the whole story, so maybe, you know, that would unlock later. They haven't seen any returning GTA characters, but they're not too familiar with past characters anyway, so they're not certain. People do react if you have your gun out, and Jason and Lucia will try to hide their gun if they're walking with it out, which is interesting. Nice little immersive feature. Male strippers are in the game. And then the final thing, they feel like everything might have been getting cut with the delay in mind, but they could still add it back, I guess, either in this year before the game comes out, or maybe, you know, once the game does come out, maybe we get some updates after the fact. So that was a lot. I mean, look, that was a lot of information to take in. Like I've been saying, I think some of it is true, but also some of it is false. I mean, that's the sort of fun part with these leaks, is trying to figure out, you know, what is true and what is fake. I think some of this stuff is exaggerated a bit, like specifically that 700 number for the interiors that we can rob. Like, that just seems insane. So maybe it's not 700. Maybe they were just exaggerating the number, but it's, it's quite a lot. I mean, we all saw trailer 2, so I don't think any of this stuff happening is a bad thing, because trailer 2 looked amazing. The game looked amazing in trailer 2. So the game will still be great, but 700 interior buildings, that's just an insane number. So stuff like that, take it with a grain of salt. There's going to be a lot, but we'll just have to wait and see, how accurate that ends up being. But out of all the leaks in the last couple of years, honestly, this is one of the more believable ones, simply because they got the names right before the trailer 2 was released, a couple weeks before it was released. So there's clearly some information here that is in fact true, but since this isn't a direct source, obviously, take it with a grain of salt. But either way, I think this is pretty interesting to learn and to read, especially after watching trailer 2 and seeing the new, GTA 6 game. It is a bit disappointing that some stuff seemingly is going to get cut. I think we all sort of knew that deep down. The game is just, it looks gigantic. Not everything we've seen so far can be in the game, in the final product. Hopefully, Rockstar do something different when the game does release, and if everything that they want in the game isn't in it, they have post-launch updates, like Cyberpunk, for instance, is doing. It's also funny how I've seen some people react to this and say, oh, I'm not excited for GTA 6 anymore because they're doing, or they're cutting content already. Did you not see trailer 2? Even if they do cut some of these, interesting concepts like prone, for instance, that doesn't mean the game is going to be bad. It just means that this game isn't going to be the perfect game we all are, hoping it to be. It's a game at the end of the day. So in a way, maybe this is a good thing, because it'll lower some of our expectations for it. But I thought this was very interesting. Even if some of the stuff doesn't end up being true, I think a lot of this will look back and say, wow, okay, that actually was pretty accurate. But let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. Thank you guys for watching. As always, if you enjoyed the video, please drop it a like, subscribe for more GTA 6 content, and as always, I will see you guys in the next one.